Mrs. Harvey, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Oh, roll call. I'm sorry. Roll call.
Trustees present tonight are Calderon, Aguilar, and Vizcarra, with Trustee Duarte and Ortega absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Mrs. Harvey, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Zuno Vizcarra. Is there a second? Second by Calderon. Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Just for the
Okay.
record, Ortega or Rocco.
Does the record reflect that Trustee Ortega has arrived? And I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That was it.
That was it. Okay, thank you. First of all, before we get started, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm having some trouble hearing. I've got a ear infection, so I'm doing my best to be able to hear you. So if I ask you to repeat, please don't feel offended. Thank you. We'll move into public hearing. Mr. Weiler?
This is the public hearing, as indicated on the agenda, for the sufficiency and availability of textbooks or instructional materials for the Coronado Unified School District students. This is when the district would receive written or oral comments regarding the consideration of adopting a resolution, which was in the backup materials, stating that the district is in compliance with the Education Code, Section 60119, pertaining to the sufficiency and availability of various textbooks and instructional materials for all pupils in all school sites in the Calexico Unified School District.
Thank you, Mr. Weiler. Mr. Will Slater?
I was going to be back a little bit more. Yeah, I do have two things I really want to address right now, and the one is equipment, but the other one is safety. That we have at the last recently we had a big rainstorm. We had a real problem with pigeon fecal matter at our school, and I know that initially we've gone through and we've cleaned it up, the out of there. Now, I still have a little bit of concern about the adequate measures that have been taken to clean it up, because any residual matter there is still being sucked into the air conditioning vents and into the breathing space of us and our children. So I'd like to make sure that the district's taking the proper to make sure that is more sanitized, not just scooped up and dumped away, because the residual matter is still there. But the other thing I'd like to know also, that if this matter is going to we take preventative measures so that we don't have that problem to begin with. Some way is out there. I don't care whether you poison them, you shoot them, I'll shoot them. But in reality, people have some of this humanitarian reasons against doing this to these poor little flying birds, but really they're flying rats. And they produce an incredible amount of matter that is disease-carrying and contagious to people. So, and we really noticed it when it got wet. So, as a board, I'm asking you to make sure that situation is taken care of, so that doesn't happen, that those birds can't get around our air conditioning vents and lay their stuff there. Okay. It's really it causes a lot of anxiety, but it's just the knowledge that the length of the problem, and we know that how bad it is because those birds are attracted to those air conditioning vents. It's a cool spot for them. Sometimes there's water, and they've got shade, and they nest up there. So it's not just a problem at De Anza, it's a problem all over this valley and all of our schools. So I'd like to see that looked into a little bit more. The other thing is equipment. I'm really glad I saw in this last statement that we got $17 million carried over. I'm not sure if that was a correct number, but if that's the case, we must have money too, like something along the lines, because we're building fences all at the high campus of the high school. So I'd like to see that we spend a little bit more money on our equipment for our kids. We are in a world of hurt for equipment in our PE program. We're always behind the 8 ball trying to get caught up on that stuff. We barely have enough. Last year in pre-January, I requested badminton equipment for our kids so we could get it, and supposedly I said I got it together, the order, and it went out, and we never saw it. Never did come in. And our program, that whole program got put away because we just didn't have enough equipment. And we service a lot of kids with these programs. And here's another problem that we have though with volleyball nets. We didn't get volleyball nets, or we didn't have to do it. So we use our pickleball nets, or we use the badminton nets. Well, what happens to those things if they're not the right nets? They get tore up, they get ruined. So when we go to do badminton or volleyball, then we don't have those nets. So we're always buying more and more stuff because we're not using the stuff the right way. Right now, we've got 8 volleyballs we're using for 80 kids at a time sometimes. That's not enough. We didn't get our supplies that we ordered last year. We were down from the previous years. We don't have enough equipment, and I have volleyballs that I go in and I air up before class to bring them out, and they're flat by the time the end of class. That's what we're using. It's inadequate. Now, and there's a reason we run short on these things too, because we have nails. That idiot that designed that gym, we've got nails up in the ceiling, and if balls get kicked up in that ceiling, hits those nails, it deflates them. We go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in equipment because of the screw nails that are up in that gym, and there's really not a way to prevent that. Okay, so as far as the equipment, and we've got budgets, we got a problem with our schools. When I was department chair for many years, we had budgets for our departments. We don't have budgets at our departments now. We don't even have department chairs at the 9th grade academy. So we got no way of really relaying the information that we have. So when we need equipment, we get called it's a wish list. Well, there's no wish list. You have budgets. We're not, and PE, we're not the only ones that are having problems with equipment and stuff. The science department is down. We need something more than wish list. We need something we know we can count on.
3 minutes.
I know I'm gonna wrap this up, but I just want to see somehow that we get these purchase orders to go through. That when we order it, because we take a lot of time to go through this, hours and hours and hours to get this stuff up, and we never see the end of this. We get it in chunks, and then 3 years later we get another chunk, but that's not adequate. Okay, so we're in need of equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. We'll give direction to have it looked into. Thank you. Are there any other requests for oral communication on the public hearing? Ms. Ambriz, is there any further elaboration on this item?
No, I'll call Dr. Estrada. This is something that he put on our agenda. Dr. Estrada?
Good evening. Good evening, Isaac Estrada, Director of Academic Services.
On the presentation?
Yes, any questions?
I don't have any.
Board members, do you have questions?
I don't have any questions.
Dr. Estrada, how many complaints were received at the beginning of the school year?
Regarding
Regarding,
equipment?
Yes.
One complaint was brought to my attention about some textbooks in the primary grade levels, and we addressed the issue actually before that complaint got to me. We were already in the process of ordering the textbooks. As you can see, we had higher enrollments this year from last year, so that was one of the causes that we were short on textbooks. But we took care of the PO or the purchase order, so we took care of the issue.
Okay. I imagine there's material that the district knows every year they're going to need for the next year. There are textbooks or workbooks maybe that kids take home and they use, and those are the ones that the district needs to reorder every year. That process begins when?
Usually that process begins in May, June of each school year. And sometimes what we do is we try to project as much as we can for the following year. And some years, unexpectedly, we have higher enrollment in certain grade levels. So that's why sometimes we have a shortage of books. However, we try to order them as fast as we can to accommodate for all students.
So what begins in May and June? The ordering process, or just the process of figuring out how many you're going to need based on this year's enrollment? Does the
Right.
district ever over-project for, I know we've had a decline in enrollment, but there is never some leeway to order extra?
Yeah, what we do is the process starts with asking the school sites to submit the request. Usually they submit the request for the for the practice books, and then for the textbooks for replacement purposes, and that starts in May, June. And we try to pad the numbers so we can actually be ready for the following year and maybe some extras. But again, sometimes we don't project exactly what grade level we're going to have higher enrollment numbers. So that's what we do each year. It starts in May, June, and we continue through July, and also in September as well, August, September, when we realize what our numbers really look like. Then we start with other work orders that need to be placed or purchase orders that need to be placed.
Okay.
As we work with this sufficiency of textbook matter every single year, one of the things that we do notice that is significantly lacking in our district is a centralized textbook inventory.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
How is it kept track of?
Exactly, and right now I could with great certainty tell you that there is no centralized method of accountability for our textbooks. For example, if I'll just name a name, if Ms. Lopez has 30 books this year, and as a principal, my expectation would be that she would have 30 books ready to go the following year. If there are books lost, unless Mrs. Lopez notifies the principal, there's no accountability for that piece, at least no centralized inventory for that. And one of the things that we've discussed is that we need to establish a centralized inventory, but not necessarily at the school sites, but at the district level, whereas Dr. Estrada, for example, would say, okay, dual school has X amount of teachers at this grade level, there are X amount of math books, X amount of language arts books, etc. And based on those numbers, and assuming that the enrollment is going to be similar, then that's the expectation that at the end of the year, he would hold the principals accountable and saying, do you still have these books, this number of books? And the principals need to check with their teachers at their sites to make sure that the teachers have the sufficient number of textbooks for the current enrollment that they have when they're ending. And then if at that point we see that there's a projected growth, then we could allot for ordering for that projected growth. But currently, at this time, there is no centralized inventory, and that's an integral piece that we need to establish here administratively at the district office, so that we can call on every principal to make sure that they check with the teachers, so that our teachers aren't in a situation where they've got 30 students in the third grade with 28 books.
Okay, so when will that type of inventory and accountability start taking place?
We are developing that program. We're developing that plan so that Dr. Estrada's department will be able to do that before the end of the school year.
Okay, so you'll bring it back to us? and-
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions, board members? For Dr. Estrada? Thank you, Dr. Estrada.
Thank you.
Given this is a public hearing, we will, I will call for a motion to either approve or not approve, but we will vote by roll call. So is there a motion? Motion to approve? Motion by Calderon to approve. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Ortega. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Trustee Ortega?
What do I do?
Trustee Calderon?
Aye.
Trustee Zuno Vizcarra?
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar? Aye. Item passes 4-0. Going on to item E. Presentations. Mr. Martinez? Before you start, Mr. Martinez, do we have a translator? No? Didn't come today? Okay. For parents. We don't have next one. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Raul Martinez. This on here? Getting going here with the Williams visits. Typically, Williams visits are done within the first 3 weeks of school, when school starts, and the team comes from the Imperial County Office of Ed. Typically, Mr. David Watson is the one that's always kind of leading the group there. But going on, I put a little presentation to kind of give you a good perspective as far as how we handle, as far as all the Williams visits, what the district tries to do from our side to be proactive in regards to a lot of the issues that come up from Williams. The Williams settlement is actually for 3 different reasons here. It's the sufficiency of the instructional materials, and that would be the books and the different educational materials needed, the conditions of the facility, and the accuracy of the data contained in the SARC. For SARC, the School Accountability Report Card. On that one, the information we gather from these visits are handed to the district, and then from there they'll be given to Axiom, which is the company, the consultant that takes care of actually the reporting to the state in regards to the School Accountability Report Card. And in regards to what I'm speaking about today is more the facilities portion, not so much on the educational books and so forth. But the priority is always to determine the safety and the adequacy as far as in good repair of the school sites and so forth, the conditions they pose, and make sure that any emergency or urgent matter are taken care of almost immediately. In some cases would be the sewer backups and so forth. That would be an example as far as when we want to be there. There's obviously electrical wires exposed and so forth, and the cleanliness. When the Williams visit comes into play, it's the evaluation of the facilities, and they call it the facility inspection tool is the guideline that they use. And they, on it, they'll check off on all these items I have posted there, which is for gas leaks, mechanical systems, which are the HVAC systems, the air conditioning systems or heating systems, the sewer systems, and I won't read everything that's up there, but it'll go down the list. And also all drinking fountains and fire safety and hazardous materials, the playground areas, and those are where some of the areas that we are in need in the district are right there in the playgrounds, amongst others. We always put a district team together, and actually, according to Mr. Watson, Calexico Unified is the only one that does that in the valley. And the team will consist to walk with them, with the Williams people, an administrator, the custodian and maintenance, skill maintenance, the plumber, electrician, and groundsman. And what's the rationale on that is that before Williams comes in, we always assigned a particular maintenance, a plumber, an electrician to each school site so that they can go and pre-check items and go through the school as much as they can and this will be in the summertime. And then from there is that same person that was taking care of one of the school sites will also be involved and join the group as far as in the walk, so that he knows exactly what's coming up as far as Williams. Again, we're the only, as far as we know, we're the only district that does that would put a team together and follow up with them. And after we go through the walk and any issues come up, is what we try to do is we try to resolve some of them at the moment. For example, smaller items such as a light doesn't work, well, we'll change the lamp there. Smaller items that we can take care of there, we'll do it there. If not, then we'll create a work order if it's a smaller item. And then if it's a bigger issue, such as carpet or a big ticket item, then we'll put it together as a project. Blanche Charles, this is the findings here as far as what Williams came up. As far as the carpet flooring, there was one item that came up there. General maintenance were 3, the grounds was 1. And most of the grounds issues are the hard surfaces underneath all the playground equipment. 1 for the locksmith and 3 plumbing. And I took pictures as far as to demonstrate what is it that they're finding here, to try to kind of explain what we have here. The first one here is the boys' restroom. It's leaking right there from the handle. The center picture on the top, boys' restroom. At that particular school, they have those fountains that have 4 different labs in them, so they're all motion censored, and 3 worked and 1 didn't. The one far on the right, it was during the time that it was raining, and you can see all the puddling that accumulates in those particular areas. And that same water comes into the classrooms, and actually it goes into the electric room where all our power is at, to which we have to develop something for that. These are the kind of items that came up. If you look at the bottom picture on the right-hand side, it's the kitchen. The warmer was not working at that particular time. I tried to take as many pictures as I could. Some didn't come out, but I tried to get most of them. And when I get to the high school, you'll see that we put 2 groups together, and I could only be in one group, so only part of the pictures came up, but it gives you a good perspective as far as what they're looking for or what they find. The top one on the left-hand side, you can see the air conditioner wasn't working on that. On the center one, it was low pressure on the drinking fountains and so forth. The bottom right-hand, the carpet, you can see a seam there. And these were the last 3 there. The center one there, it's that freezer there, it's used by ACES, but it doesn't have a lock. And once that's one of the items that they ask us to always have a lock. They don't want a student or someone, it's a safety issue going in there. So those are items that we addressed. And in some things it's custodial, like on the right-hand side, that the stage lift, it's got some items there that were cleaned up. Calexico High School. This is the biggest school, and when they visited the school site, it was raining, and we had multiple issues there. That's our biggest school, and it's the one with the most need here. You can see the general maintenance work orders that came up during that visit was 26. A lot of it was during the rain, the roofing and so forth, coming in at Godfrey Gym and Varner Gym, particularly those areas, which we're still dealing with. Okay. Most of them are kind of minor things that we're going to be taking care of, like the top one there on the center, the top center, it's the lens is missing from that light fixture. Different things like that. A lot of restrooms here in this particular one, the bottom on the right here, there's a small tile right here in that one corner that's missing, and we got written up on that because of that small tile missing right here, right in that one corner here. On the top there, on the left-hand side, you can see the electrical cord running across the room. We do issue out and some guards, to reduce trip hazards that will go cover them. And at times, I'm not sure why that one wasn't there, but we reissue them every year. We go through that. The same thing with room 13 there, the center one on top. On the left-hand side there, you see where the room 34, the window coverings, they asked us to remove those and put some new ones in. The bottom right-hand side is the carpet's wrinkled. Those are all trip hazards. On the top left, there's boxes on top that they asked us to remove. And by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but a lot of these items, like those boxes on top, were removed right there on the spot, but there's still things that they noted with us. And it's important that we're all on the same page here, because that way it won't happen next year and it doesn't continue, so that we all know. On the bottom center there, you can see that covered up is the fire extinguisher. It's there, but it's you can't see it, and those little items is what we needed to clear up, and that was taken care of there. On that room, the bottom right hand, you see ceiling tiles missing with the condensation water, that air conditioner leaked through there. And the biggest ticket items were a lot of carpet issues. Right in here, as far as what they were talking about earlier, Mr. Slater here on the bottom right hand, you could see that that's the same thing that we're trying to address everywhere, and it's a common practice to try to address it daily as much as you can. But it just takes so much effort and energy to take care of that, and then that means the man hours are spent doing this instead of doing something else. Here on room 79 here, a lot of the issues were here where there were not so much like this one here, that this is the carpet, but this one was a lot of stains and actually gum there that were there. A few lights. These cylinders were all in the welding room or welding shop area, and they're not secured. They're all oxygen and so forth, and if for security reasons, for safety reasons, they all have to be secured, and they weren't. Here they store flammable materials, but it has no lock on it. Those are the items that came in that go into safety. And then you see debris here in this area. The shop teacher wasn't there. They were in the wood shop teaching there. It wasn't being used at this time, but William still asked us to take care of these items before something happened. That's an important note. The teacher was busy at the shop area, wood shop area. There's no students involved in anything that, as far as this area here. Ninth grade, we had one electrical, general maintenance, and plumbing. A few areas where we have concrete issues here. The threshold, again, some extension cords, and this drinking fountain clogged up. A light not working in this particular area. Changed this because it was graffitied. This one didn't have a cap on them. And smaller issues like that, we take care of it with a simple work order, or in a lot of cases, right there on the spot. These are big ones here. You can see more hairline cracks here, and then this is concrete here where we have to do some additional patching. This is the gym where the padding here has been, there's a small tear there that we want to address before. Those are items that Williams caught on to. Dual. You see the carpet here. We have the carpet flooring. There was 3 that came up during the inspection, and it's important to note that 2 of the 3 there were already included on the bid that we're doing with flooring, so that'll be addressed shortly, but we'll still have 1 pending. Again, this is, for example, on this one, we have the tile missing there and a small crack in here. Those are all issues, concrete issues that we're having throughout the district in here. You see more foundation issues here and lighting here. That's in the teacher's lounge here. More concrete in the back here, or in the bottom here, I'm sorry. And the sink, that was a cleanliness thing, and then more wrinkled carpets in this area. And he found debris in this one area here that needed to be cleaned up. Enrique Camarena, carpet flooring, they found 13 items that they want us to take care of. Other than that, all items were just about there. And a lot of the areas here, this is a nurse's sink that they asked to make sure it was cleaned. And this is a small tear that was found in the wallpaper here, and that was why this room was written up here. There's another small tear there, and that's why this room was written up. And again, this one here and that one there. Smaller items here that are taken care of almost on the spot there. Jefferson, 2 items. This was missing a cover. It was placed right there on the spot, and this These cracked tiles here are being taken care of. Those are worked at or warranty work from the contractor there at Jefferson. Kennedy Gardens, they found 6 flooring items, carpet, and all 6 are included in the bid that we have ongoing now. They made note of the new asphalt that we poured in this one area between all the trailers. They like that. And this is during the rain time. You can see all the ceiling areas that came in. A lot of them have been worked out already and taken care of. Mains Elementary. The carpet issue in the library, and I believe that's one of the ones that's on the bid. Here, this one, the boys' restroom, that small tile is what caused the problem there. Girls' restroom, that one little piece of tile broken there. And the soffits have little hairline cracks here. Structurally, it's sound. Just that they wanted us to pay close attention to all that. The drinking fountains were not working, and the electrical here on the kitchen equipment here that they wanted us to make sure we address so that we could move the equipment over so that there wouldn't be any tripping hazards there. A lot of playground issues, a lot of hard surfaces, and that's throughout the district here. Rockwood. This is the cafeteria area where a lot of flooring, you can see some of the cracks going on. Again, carpet issues. This is a playground issue where there was a hole in there that was taken care of right there immediately. Willie Moreno. This is the band office room. This is where they store some of their equipment, the items they use for the drums and so forth, and they want us to work this wall in. That's where they store all their items, and they hit the wall there with smaller items. This is the paint was peeling off this one partition wall in the restroom. And here, for example, this is the electrical that was written up, and in that same room, you can see the electrical cord guards are right over here on the side of they were taken off and then put just on the side for whatever reason. Small crack in the copy room. I tried to zoom this one to show you that this that you see here is where the 2 tiles are put together, the VCT tiles, and you could see the seam here between both cracks, and you can see the small hairline crack there, which is not bigger than that area. I wanted to make sure that I showed you that. So it's not a big thing, but they want us to take a close look at and patch it any which way we want. The wallpaper here in the counseling office, it right here's the seam, and it just started peeling a little bit, and they wanted us to take care of that. Here, D21, in the wall, it's full of graffiti there that we need to address. At the gym, the drinking fountain, the handle was broke right in there. The PE office here, some floor tile that was broke. Again, this freezer, it had no lock, and they want us to take care of that. You know, a light was out right in here. But they're typically smaller items. The bigger ticket items would be your carpets and so forth, flooring items. And that's all we have right now. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Board members? Do you have questions?
Mr. Martinez, does the district make scheduled walkthroughs throughout the year so that we're mitigating these things, we're sort of being proactive in advance, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, during the summer, we assign a maintenance man to each particular school site, and then we'll go over it with we really rely a lot on the site custodial staff there, because they're the ones that are in every single nook and cranny of every room there. So we rely a lot on them letting us know, besides our maintenance guy. And Williams will come back and revisit within 3 months. So all these items that were found, they'll be addressed, other than the bigger ticket items like the flooring and so forth. All these items will be taken care of, and throughout the year, a lot has to do with the work orders that are provided to us and so forth. And it's important that I say the work orders, just right now from August to now, we've received well over 1,200 work orders. So that's how we rely, that's what keeps us busy as far as with all these work orders. So we again, we rely a lot on the site custodial staff to let us know on these things, and our same staff, when they're working in those particular areas, they'll also look for things themselves.
So, Mr. Martinez, all of these issues here were found through the Williams, so is it safe to say then that there are other issues that the custodial staff find throughout the year or in the summer that aren't here?
Absolutely.
And then those get taken care of, and then these are separate, these are found through a visit?
That's correct, in addition to. So we're proactive basically all summer, trying to get all these things. It's difficult during the school year to try to work inside a classroom, and the principal and the teacher will be courteous enough to let us go into a classroom when need to, but we try to avoid the interruptions as much as possible. So, for example, the flooring items, they'll come when there's no students involved and so forth. But the smaller items is we receive the work orders, we have staff going to the school sites, and we're now assigning a particular person to that same school site so that he's always familiar on any items, on any other new items, such as all these little hairline cracks that come up on the wall. He'll know what he already saw and what's new. So we try to do that as much as we can.
That's a person from where, I'm sorry? I
For
didn't catch
the
that.
maintenance and operations. It'll be either a maintenance or a skilled maintenance person. We'll have a particular plumber assigned to one particular school site. We have 2 plumbers, so we divide the schools in half, and these will be the ones that each one will address. That way, they take a little more ownership in regards to what they're doing. If I were to assign a work order to one plumber A, and then another work order the same school site to plumber B, if one wasn't completed, then we don't have any of this like passing on the buck. It's one particular person that handling the plumbing or the electrical or most of the maintenance, unless something larger comes up.
Is that a different way of doing it? Because you said that now you try to assign the same people so that they know what's going on at a particular site. That was different before?
Yes, it was. 2 years ago, we used to, as work orders came in, we used to assign accordingly, or as like on a rotation purpose per se. So it could be that plumber A, and this is just an example, plumber A and plumber B could be at the same school with different issues coming up. So we changed that, and now it's a particular employee more hands-on at that particular school that he's taking care of items. That's the approach now, and that started about 2 years ago.
Is there, I noticed some of these issues, I guess have been taken care of to some degree through the bids that have gone through us, like the carpeting, for example, but some of these other things how do those get resolved? Is there a deadline given? You said they come back, every 3 months? And, I mean, could a resolve be, we haven't gotten to it yet, or do they get taken care of within those, between visit to visit?
So when all these items came on board, or they were discovered, and Williams wrote them up, what we do is we assign a work order per item to a particular employee. And when we do that, that work order never goes away. It keeps track of the time when it was issued, when it was assigned, until it's completed.
Who keeps track of the work orders? I'm sorry, because I was going to wait for your finish, but I kind of see our questions are along the same lines, so I'm going to kind of jump in between. So, because I've got written down, so how are the work orders tracked? Say the high school puts in a work order for fixing the sink in the art room, and there's a drip or that it's plugged. How is it tracked?
They're taken care of in different ways. One is by the level of priority, if it's a safety issue or not, one, and then the longevity or the aging of it, and then the other is when a pressing matter is coming on board that we need to take care of it. It could be a slip hazard and so forth. With the personnel that we have on hand right now, is the work order is issued, and it might take a week before they could get to a particular item. It might take longer if it's, for example, it's one light that's not working in the classroom, but we don't have power in a particular room. They're going to be addressing the power first, so it may take a while before they can get to that light fixture. Right now, what we have is our staff after the rain, for example. All our staff been busy with all these different roofs. We've discovered mold in different areas because of the water that came in at Godfrey Gym. That's an example. So they're all addressing roof items right now because we don't want to go through this again. So it all depends on where we're at with what particular item. I'll be honest and say that some items have to wait. We just don't have the personnel for it. But if it's a pressing item, guaranteed that they'll be there almost immediately.
Is there an official priority list where, in terms of, I understand that some things aren't going to happen right away because lack of resources. And for example, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like 2 plumbers for this district might not be sufficient. I don't, I may be wrong, but it just seems like if you have all those issues there, I don't know that 2 plumbers can do it. And that's what I'm asking about. If for example, there's a deadline to complete this, or this can go on and on.
Or say, for example, do we have, in case our 2 plumbers are swamped, do we have a backup plan that we can call in?
At the time, we can also use skill maintenance to do also that type of work because it's part of their scope of work. They wouldn't be as efficient as the plumber would, but that would be an option. The issue with us is the lack of staff, the insufficient staff that we have. That's basically our biggest problem here. And it comes down to where there's been a hiring freeze. I'll say this much: we're 8 custodians short right now. We're at least a skill maintenance. We're a locksmith short. We're skill maintenance and another maintenance personnel. And it's just, when the time comes that we can hire more people, we'll be a little more efficient. But until that happens, our priority is health and safety first. Security is another issue, and then the age of the work orders. That's how we prioritize it. There's no set method except for that, as far as.
You mentioned safety hazards. So if we have safety hazards, I'll use the example of the cord. There is a process for when you're using extension cords that you're supposed to either tape it down or use some type of coverage, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so when a request is made by either a teacher or administrator to have something like that, or a teacher in the classroom for something like that to be set up, who is responsible for ensuring the safety of the people around that cord?
There's, as far as ensuring the safety, obviously the school site, the principal, the site custodian would be the first people to react or come into play. I'll use an example. Last year at Enrique Camarena, this was the trip hazards here. I received a call actually from Mr. Cooper in regards that they still needed items there, or the guards that we gave them, they come in rolls. It wasn't sufficient. We took like 5 boxes, but they still needed more. So we ordered more and we took those there. Did it take about a week to get into play? Yes. But and then another issue is that they remain there. Sometimes they're moved for whatever reason. I'm not sure what the reason is, but there was an example there at Willie Moreno that it was removed off from where it was at. Whether they were moving the extension cords or moving their items, the electrical, I'm not sure. But the safety falls on everybody here. We're all accountable. Either classified or certificate. Nobody wants to get hurt here.
Do you have any more questions?
No.
I do. In terms of the bird droppings, how is that being mitigated across the district?
Right now, what we've done is, one is the custodial staff it takes a lot of their time to do some of that. We've implemented work orders that we call preventative work orders, preventative maintenance work orders that are assigned to all our staff every 2 months, and that's to go up to roofs and make things uncomfortable. Pigeons need 3 things to survive. As long as they're comfortable, as long as they have food, and as long as they have water, you're not going to do anything with them. You got to make them uncomfortable. And It's illegal to do anything as far as what Mr. Slater was mentioning, but it's certainly an option, not for us here yet, but it just takes so much energy as far as to keep on it. He mentioned the air conditioners on top of that gym. They were nasty. Our staff was up there for a whole week just cleaning all this up, and where the air vents are at, where the intakes were, it was, even though it had a wiring system to keep some fencing material to keep the pigeons out, but that's where they landed, and that's where they were taking care of their business. So now we've asked the air conditioning people or HVAC people to actually put sheet metal above that so none of that would come in. So it just takes so much time and energy away from our custodial staff to...
It does, but it is a serious, it's a serious health matter.
exactly.
I know, because we've had that same issue,
Mhm.
at my work site, and it's not acceptable,
Yeah.
it's particularly with a high percentage of students and people with
Yeah.
asthmatic
Exactly.
reactions.
Oh, I totally agree with you. So in our case, there's a work order that is automatically produced by it's an online work order method that we have here, and it's called School Dude. And we've set it up so it creates a work order for all our maintenance employees to go up on roofs every 2 months. One is to screen the roof and make sure that the roof drains are clean. Part of the issue that we found at Varner Gym and Godfrey Gym was that there was a lot of tennis balls that were up there besides all this bird stuff. But a lot of tennis balls that were there that actually plugged up the drains up there. So now with our staff going up there every 2 months and cleaning and doing whatever they have to do up there, I think that's going to help.
Okay.
That's besides the custodial staff cleaning wherever they have to.
Okay, I just have a couple more questions. You mentioned that you have maintenance assigned to sites. What's the ratio of site to maintenance?
Most of them have 2 sites.
So how many maintenance do you have?
Let's see, there's 4 skill maintenance and 3 maintenance. Actually 5, there's 8 people involved. And
Okay.
a couple of them have 2 sites. And by the way, the only 2 schools that will not have Williams visit would be Cesar Chavez and Aurora. Those are the 2 schools. But we still have to obviously give it attention, right?
Okay.
So we have, most of our guys, employees have 2 school sites. So for example, one of them has Rockwood and Mains, another one has Blanchard's, Willie Moreno, and so forth. And there's a couple of them that only have 1 school. That would be the maintenance guys. But the skill maintenance have 2.
Okay. In terms of, we had a reports in last board meeting, not this last one because I wasn't here, but in terms of leaks at Willie Moreno and Calexico High School. I'm not sure if there were some other ones, but those were 2 that I recall. And there was, I think, a complaint or concern that there might be mold.
Mhm.
Was that clarified? Was there mold or was there not?
Yes, we actually had, so Calexico High School, we had the 2 different areas that were inspected by a certified consultant that just does that, was Godfrey Gym, and it was 3 different areas, the main court area, and both the office areas and locker rooms on each end. And then we had the locker room, boys' locker in the PE office. Now, mold was detected in both the offices at Godfrey Gym. In the area of the main court, there was none detected. What they do is they take some different air samples, actually material samples and air samples, and they'll gauge their samples. Their baseline is whatever is outside. So they take the air samples outside. Mold is part of our universe here. So there's nothing that you can do with it. And then what aggravates matters here in Imperial Valley is that we're an agriculture area. So everything is higher here in regards to the allergies, asthma, and so forth, which creates a problem. So the samples taken in the main court, they were taken from the 3 different areas. 2 areas were relatively lower than the outside, and 1 area was slightly about the same. as far as the outside, or maybe just a tab higher. But it wasn't sufficient enough to say that you had to do anything about it. You see, with mold, the government doesn't have a set standard like they do with asbestos. And what do I mean by that? So with asbestos, if we're checking this countertop for asbestos and we take a sample and 1% of whatever sample you take has asbestos, then that constitutes an abatement of the whole area. With mold, there's no such number that tells you at this number, this is the magic number to do everything we have to. The district always takes the safe side, and it'll remove whatever it needs to when anything's detected. So such in the two main offices or the locker areas at Godfrey Gym, we've already received the scope of work from the consultant. So what's the process here? The process is this way. One is we'll get the consultant to check and see if there's anything. If there is, then we'll ask them for the scope of work. Write us what is it that we need to do. Number 3, if there's something found, would be to get a licensed contractor that's certified with that to do the abatement. And number 4 is bring back the initial consultant to take air samples to make sure everything's cleared.
Okay.
So where are we with the gymnasium there at Godfrey? We just received the scope of work. Now we're going to solicit some estimates to do the abatement. In the boys' locker area, it wasn't detected, but we're going to also remove the area there where water was coming in. At Kennedy Gardens, T20 was also checked, and nothing was detected there. At Kennedy Gardens, we checked room 7, room 3, and room D, I believe, and none were detected there.
Okay.
So those are the ones that we know. Now, we took samples at De Anza Junior High, too. There's an area where it's the IDF room is at. It's like a storage electrical room. We found mold there. And we checked the locker area in the girls' side, I believe. I don't know if they did the boys' side, too. But none was detected there in regards to the air samples. So, but there's a stain up in the ceiling that we're going to also get the contractor to come and remove that portion. Now, it's all based on the air samples that were taken. So those are the only ones that I'm aware of in regards to mold.
Okay. My final question. I'll be done.
Go
Just
ahead.
one more
Go
question.
ahead.
My final question is in regards to the lights in the parking for Cesar Chavez. I've seen that I think it's a safety hazard, and it's not just the parking lot. I think it's the site itself too. So
I'll
I know
check
you
into
can't
that.
answer that question right now, but I think that's something that needs to be addressed because it is an ongoing safety hazard.
I will.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Calderon.
You mentioned Kennedy Gardens, and I visited Kennedy Gardens recently, probably about 2 weeks, something like that. I went to those classrooms. They, in my opinion, I mean, I'm no expert, but they were pretty bad.
They look bad, and that's why we had them sampled, but they came in negative.
But they
Nothing-
smell bad.
A lot of it was because of the dampness on the carpet. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not going to disagree with you. But after taking all the samples and the air samples, nothing came out as far as irregular there.
What about the walls? I mean, they look pretty bad too.
Hmm.
So there was nothing. So after they checked, and there was nothing.
In room 7, they rechecked. They took additional samples. They came back. We asked them to take additional samples to make sure we didn't miss anything. And the additional samples came in negative also. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. And we go with the third party. It's
Oh, so it wasn't you. It was a contractor.
yes, it's a licensed consultant that we use that they'll come in with all their testing equipment, and they'll take the air samples. They'll take samples, actual material samples with them. It's not us. It's someone else that takes care of all that for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for that same reason, that we want to make sure that, it's with asbestos, it's the same thing. The law says that you need to have a third party to take care of all the sampling. Why should we believe the contractor, right? They're the ones doing. There's a little conflict there, and we want to make sure that the district isn't hiding anything in. So, for that reason, we make sure we get the third party, and whatever they say we need to do, we do, and in some cases we do extra, just to make sure that we're on the safe side.
Now another comment or question that I have is this. You mentioned that the Williams visits that we had, they happened They happened around the time when we had those, the rain, right?
Winds and rain, yes.
Okay, so that didn't help.
No, they didn't. No,
Okay,
it didn't.
We actually brought out everything that was wrong.
Well, that and more.
Pretty much,
That
exactly.
and more, because with the high winds, what happened is a lot of the roofing material, the flashing on top was blown off, and that's where a lot of the water came into play. A lot of the roofing material was blown off, especially at Kennedy is what happened. On top of the walls, you have some metal flashing, where the roofing material comes in and the flashing comes on top of it, so no water comes in between. Well, that was blown off by the wind, so now the water was racing through there, and that's what happened. A little bit of what happened at Godfrey Gym, too.
Okay.
Yes, it magnified things,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Any further question, board members?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. We're moving on to F.
There is nothing under section F.
Okay, I was wondering, so we're good. No action on anything. Superintendent's report, G.
Okay, well, good evening, trustees. I think the first item to address are the very attractive walls. So thank you to Calexico High School's, one of Calexico High School's art class or art classes. And what I'll do is I'll have Ms. Burgos put this on the projector so that you could at least see some of the names of the students that participated in the artwork that's being displayed. I believe it's Mrs. Dreesen's class, if I'm not mistaken. And so thank you to Calexico High School's art classes. I've also had the opportunity to visit one of our elementary schools today, Blanche Charles, and they have some very attractive bulletin boards both in and outside of the classrooms, along the hallways. And I was particularly impressed with a project that Mr. Martin Nolasco had displayed in the hallway regarding how to set up a newspaper, et cetera. So it was really nice to see. And I was able to visit 4 different classrooms as part of a concerted effort of carving out time every single day if possible, but given that there's so many schools, every single day, carve out a specific amount of time during the day to go visit schools and not get just completely consumed by what is happening at the district office. And it really is exciting. I was able to see Mrs. Espino's classroom today and a couple of other classrooms as well. And so it just was really, it's a good change. One of the other things that I'd like to do before I continue is to acknowledge, at least I checked my mailbox yesterday for the first time in a couple of weeks, so I was, I'm not good about checking my mailbox, I'd like to acknowledge Mrs. Butner's bid for county board, and the ballots have arrived. That's how, the election material arrives at the home. So, if we may have someone from our city on ICOE's board. So, just wish her luck on her endeavor. So thank you, Ms. Butner. Based on conversations from our last board meeting, I know that you had some questions regarding the construction cost of the pool, that once the demolition has taken place, will there be the hole that's going to be left in the ground, will it be filled, or will it is it part of the cost, et cetera, that we agreed to? And in checking with Mr. Martinez today, and he checked with our architect, no, it's not necessarily it's not part of the cost, and the hole won't be filled because they're going to immediately start working on some parts of it, and so they're going to need to have that hole, so that they're going to fence it off even further, though, within as part of the scope of what they're going to do.
How will that impact? A lot of students head out that direction to go eat. Not that I really like that.
Well,
But
I'm not
will
sure yet how that will impact, but eventually when the demolition takes place, they're going to have to be rerouted
Yeah.
for their safety. They just will not be allowed to go throughout that gate. It's just for safety
and
purposes.
that's going to cause,
Yeah. Okay.
additional issues.
Yes. Also, at our last board meeting, the trust, and I think it's come up for a couple of board meetings, the trustees have asked regarding the legal bills for our current law firm and our previous law firm. And so I did a very quick gathering of information. Hopefully I haven't transposed any figures, and if I haven't, this is close to accurate, or maybe plus or minus a couple of dollars in any direction. If we look at the first that's being displayed up there, it's GCR, and subsequently it's got a different name, Garcia.
Can you make it bigger?
And a few other names. I can't remember what all the names are, but this is pretty much what the attorney fees were for a little over a year for GCR.
Thank you. Thank you.
Up until the most recent bill, which was this past month. And for example, it's $468,238 and some change. 31,000, for example, was related to the Quo Rento. General legal services, 125,000. Employee personnel matters, 71,000, et cetera. So that's up there. And and if we go down to our current legal firm, it's hopefully I have it right, Atkinson, Adelson, or vice versa, Lawyer Rudin Romo. One, not sure if it's Atkinson Adelson or Adelson Atkinson, but at either rate, it's Ayler. And this is, their fees right now is up to $173,000. Again, like I said, it may be plus or minus in either direction, a few dollars, if I haven't transposed anything. And these are the general costs that attributed to the legal fees. And I did have a couple of extra sheets here in case anybody wanted the sheets from the public. It's right there. I do have a few extra sheets. And so it's available there at the desk.
Can you give me the time frame again for, do you have it separated by, is it just 1 year, or from what month to what month?
Okay, well, with Atkinson, since they came on board in January, and GCR is a combination of about a little over a year. I would say it's about 14 months. And it added up quite a bit, given that they had delayed their billing for a while, so it kind of gets muddled there, but I do have that.
So you might be talking more than 14 months then.
A little over, probably about 14 to 16 months worth of billing. Okay, so at any rate, this is what the billing amounted to. Okay, I was going to talk to you about the status of the Godfrey Gym mold, and Mr. Martinez addressed that issue. I know that you also asked regarding the insurance, and I had a conversation with Ms. Washington this afternoon, and so for the meeting of November 12th, she's going to have a presentation to the board regarding the checkers process and the Healthcare Act as well. They also, I believe, she has an insurance meeting scheduled for this Thursday, so there'll be more information coming regarding the insurance and
Insurance meeting with?
The insurance committee meeting.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
And in going through the pre-list, I know there was a question regarding on page 11 of 13, there was a specific question regarding a payment to the United States Treasury. It said for Form 941, Employer's Quarterly Federal Tax Return Penalty. in checking with our finance department, this penalty has come about as a result of an error that was made at ICOE. This is an ICOE error, and it's an issue that affected not just our district but others. We applied for a waiver with the Department of Treasury, and it was denied. And so we have to pay the $10,946. But because it is an ICOE issue, ICOE will be reimbursing the district that amount of money. And as soon as that transfer is done, Mrs. Rodriguez will notify me, and then I will notify the board of the reimbursement.
How was it that error came to be?
I will ask Mrs. Rodriguez to explain
Can
it to you
please-
briefly.
Please
If
share,
that's okay.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Good afternoon, members of the board. The error came about because of the summer schedule. That was paid on a Thursday and we were off Fridays. So taxes need to be paid a day after. So if we had been paid on the Friday, the taxes would have been paid the Monday after that. And that's why it happened.
So how was that, the error of ICOE?
Well, the ICOE paid us on a Thursday, and that was on a June 27th, I believe. And so when they put in the payroll, they set it up to pay the taxes until
The following Monday?
until after that.
I
But
see.
it should have been paid on June 28th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And also for, likely for the meeting of the 28th, not for the 12th, we'll also have a presentation on a brief summary of what we covered in the retreat last Saturday, especially in regards to the vision, the goals, and in particular how they all align to the LCFF and the LCAP. That way we can actually streamline what our goals and vision are for all of our schools. For example, I know at our last board meeting, the trustees stated an example. You know, Jefferson School has technology and resources that they would like to see at other schools as well. So in order for us to achieve that, to sincere parity and equity, that has to definitely be part of our LCFF expenditures that's outlined in our LCAP, and so that they can align to the vision and the goals that the district is shooting for with when we tie the high leverage recommendations that we have from Pivot as well. So more to come on that. And at this point, I think that's all I'm. There is a drive, I believe, at the elementary school, well, at all of our schools with the food service program. Mr. Caballero informed me that they will be holding, in order to encourage more participation, they're holding a raffle for elementary school kids. It's a big winter stocking with plenty of gifts within the stocking, and I think there's one at every school site, correct, Mr. Caballero? But it's one for every school site, correct? And so they'll all have opportunities to participate in this. And for the older age students, I think it's a different type of prize. I think it's an iPod or something to that effect. Excuse me? Oh, the tablets. So, at this point, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Ambriz. We'll go to comments from the public. Mr. Chad Cooper.
I'll note that when the district gets to present, they get an unlimited amount of time, and yet when the hard-working non-management presents, you restrict us heavily. That being said, thank you for holding the meeting twice a month and not once a month. That gives us double the time as if you only held it once a month. Number one, safety committee. We wanted a safety committee long time ago. District refused in bargaining to grant a safety committee. They said they were too worried about money. I don't think we need to bargain it, but we need a way to go through employee concerns. With 400 employees, they all can't call Chad Cooper, who then emails Raul Martinez. We need to get a safety committee going, devote a day, a quarter or something to get together and talk about safety. Kind of little personal story. When I first got here, I was very shocked at how many cords there are on the ground, because when I worked in the Lemon Grove School District, all the cords were hanging, which may be an electrical issue, I don't know. But I started tripping on cords here, and I said, well, where's the base for my projector? No, that would cost $200. That would cost $200, I was told by that principal, which is not my principal right now. And, you know, at Calexico High School, a teacher yesterday fell over cords and broke her shoulder. Okay? And I'm just thinking that sometimes, what's the phrase? Penny foolish, dollar wise? I don't know. We're just concentrate on the little things, not the big things. That slideshow about how understaffed CSEA is, and probably their management too, I absolutely agree with it. And I think I could put on the same slideshow with our students, showing what's been done by the large class size this whoever was here when it happened endorsed by giving away the QEIA grant and giving up class size reduction, when we all know we serve some of the neediest students in California, and yet they're not achieving at their highest levels because of an anti-teacher agenda from some administrators in the past. So really, I wish I had 20, 30 minutes to show the students that didn't learn in class as much as they could, because they're competing with 29 students instead of 19 students for the expert in the room's attention. And don't forget, we've got some of the lowest socioeconomic and educational levels and language barriers in this whole state, if not country. And I hope the school board takes the learning conditions as seriously as they do the facility conditions. IRS thing, I'm glad to hear that the district's chasing after the county office. Wish it would have chased after the lawyers a couple years ago. $98,000 to bargain with us. It's a lot of money to talk to me. Moving on, some of the book issues where teachers are routinely asked to violate the copyright, make a photocopy of that book. And what's that doing? It's wasting our time also. Instead of being able to make high quality parent phone calls, arranging parent meetings, we're fighting over the broken copy machine. And again, I don't think, buy one $15 workbook and you'll save me 4 or 5 hours. My time's worth more than that. Moving on, I heard about the Williams Act facilities. I don't know when you're going to bring up the teacher vacancy issue. I was trying to look on my smartphone and then I got distracted. We still have a math teacher vacancy at the 9th grade academy. I haven't heard that in the superintendent's newsletter or her report. What's being done to educate those 100+ kids? Their sub today, or yesterday, today's Tuesday, right? Yesterday told them, I'm only going to be here for a week. And these are kids that want to learn, or at least one point they did. And we also have a band vacancy that's being filled by someone making less than minimum wage. I'll repeat that. The consulting contract that the district drew up has a person making less than minimum wage. I sure hope the person doesn't go off and get a job making minimum wage and leaves our students behind. I don't think he's that type of person, but I think he deserves at least minimum wage. And I tried to approach him about filing a complaint, but he's worried about retaliation. So I'll just throw that out there.
Can you wrap it up?
Really?
Yes, sir. Your 3 minutes are
When
up.
can I meet with the school board then about these issues?
You can make arrangements with the superintendent or
To meet
superintendent
with the school
secretary.
board?
Mr. Chad Cooper, will you please wrap
Ms.
up?
Norma Aguilar, my question is, when can I finish talking to the school board about these very important issues?
You can.
Because the administrator,
you can make an appointment,
with the whole school board?
or you can request to speak in closed session, I would imagine, then
Why would it be closed session?
Mr. Cooper, I'm not going to engage with you.
You are, though.
Wrap up your comments, sir,
What-
please.
And you wonder why we don't make progress,
Thank you.
folks. You wonder why. No,
Thank you.
no.
Are there any further comments from the public?
I had one more on that. I mean, I just want to.
Come on up. And excuse me, hold on a second, Mr. Slater, I've got Mr. Kim, and that'll give you a chance to fill out a form. Mr. Kim, please, come to the podium. Thank you.
My name is John Kim. I'm a senior citizen. I'm very disappointed when I see the lawyer sitting at the table. I think when I'm not in the school board, I'm glad there's no more lawyers sitting down at the podium here, but they're still sitting down. That's money is causing for our students. Recently, I've seen the Los Angeles School District, they spending $300 million more to saving from the other side to put in the classroom. They want to have a 200 days, 200 days of school days, and they want to hire more teachers and the employees to hire back. And what are we doing here? We're just wasting our money for the other side. And I heard about the books they've been having. Whenever Williams complain, each school, they just transfer the school by school. Oh, we're going to go send the school there. Wait. They send the school to make sure compliance from the school district, the Williams requirements. And teachers were complaining about that they're making the copy. And all those things, we're not spending money for our children. And then we're expecting them to have a good API scores. We're expecting to learn. And the way we treat our teachers, we're never going to get to their maximum effort to that. Instead of motivating them, we are attacking them. Right now, I saw in my own eyes again. When are we going to stop this one? We have to work together to reach our goal to educate our children better. But I don't see we doing it. And I was mentioning several times, and the food for the football team is not serving yet. So they 3 o'clock, they have to eat the food, and they have a tutoring, and they're not serving yet. And they're blocking from the neighborhood house coming in, and there was a false documents that they said they're not complying with the state. When they're gonna do? When we gonna serve our kid? Last meeting, I said, do your job. You're not doing your job. You're hurting our kid. You're hurting the district. You're holding our students to get the money to keep the entity. Spend money for our children and our education core system and students and teachers. You're not focusing on them. Focusing on our children's education, please.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Slater? Thank you.
Yeah, real quick. Raul Martinez, I'd say that's a guy right there that's overworked and understaffed. He's got the kid with his finger in the dike trying to hold back the water. He's got a lot of work ahead of him, and with Mr. Cooper on that math teacher position, we really need to fill those. You can't imagine really how absolutely tragic it is to have these kids come in and not have a teacher and have a sub in there until November, and what you'd create is a non-winnable situation for the teacher that comes in, because these kids have never had continuity in that class. They have, and I'm not speaking from, I've seen this many times. The teacher comes in and there's just mayhem. He spends his entire time trying to get control of a situation. The kids don't want this. It's just rebellion. So it really, if there's anything we're going to do, that's one thing. We got to get those. We can't have subs in there. I did want to emphasize though, real quick on that. If we saved all that money on these lawyers, can we get back to 7th and 8th grade sports? You know, I got to tell you, as a boost thing, we've been building up our little kids sports all along in Calexico, and girls softball I think is an absolute prime example of what great things can happen when we feed our younger kids into our programs, into the junior high and into the high school. I mean, our girls softball is at a top peak right now, and they're performing so well, and they're so young. But we're going to see that regress if we don't feed that in with our 7th and 8th grade sports. And it's not just in girls softball, but in all of our athletes. We want our kids to be able to be competitive wherever they go and not handicap them any more than we already do in a lot of ways. So, you know, if we can bring that back with some of that money we saved from our lawyers, I'm glad they went back to Sweetwater where they came from. I know the last thing I want to talk about is we have a weight room in De Anza it's absolutely spectacular when it's working. A weight room. There's several years ago we had a grant that was written, and we have a lot of really incredible equipment, but that was many years ago, and it needs to be maintained, and we have things we need to get fixed on it, and control panels like on some of the running machines and the exercise bikes, and it needs maintenance, and we need cables replaced. We use it as much as we can, but you know it's not functioning. We allowed at one point we had a lot of after school programs working it, and all of our pins have come up missing, gone, and it's hard to get the pins. I mean, we can't get requisition orders for volleyballs. Try to get it for weightlifting pins and stuff. So I mean, and we need help right now to get that room back get it fixed so we can use it. It's an integral part in our program, and we really want to use it. We have kids every day asking to use it, and we do take them in smaller groups sometimes. But again, if it's not safe, we're working with stuff that needs to be upgraded, and we have it. We just need to use it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
Maria, didn't we talk about 7th and 8th grade sports right before the summer? Remember, I could have sworn that we talked about it.
Not as a board.
Not
as a board, no.
Perhaps we can address it at the next one.
Okay, yeah.
I request to place it on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Ms. Diane Harvey. Thank you.
My name is Diana Harvey. Am I on? I want to talk about the legal fees. I think it's a good report from the superintendent, but it's a little bit misleading. The firm in yellow has only been on duty with us officially since January. So from January until to date, it's 173. But the firm above it, that represents, because I can tell from the certificated layoffs, 52,000, we didn't have any layoffs this year. So it has to go back all the way to 2012. So that's roughly 14 months. So 14 months, 468,000, and since January to now, 9 months, already 173. We're not on track to cut back on our expenses for legal fees yet. And I thought one of the things we would have tried to do with the new legal firm that's sitting right there is cut back on some expenses. Now, so I would like to see this report maybe with the dates of how many months the 468 is and how many months the 173. And it looks like there's a savings, but I don't think there really is because it's a longer span.
I didn't present this as to show a savings or anything.
No, okay.
I was asked to bring in what the report was, what the expenses were under our former law firm, and what our expenses have been to date with our current law firm.
Okay.
And just so that the board
Yeah.
would be able to see the general idea of what dollars have been paid towards.
Well,
That's really where
good
it's at.
news is, in my opinion, is you didn't have expense for layoffs in 2013, and it's a good thing you didn't, because now you've ended up with increased enrollment, as you referred to, well, although we haven't seen the numbers yet. Increased enrollment, you've hired new teachers. So I'm glad the board made a stand, and it was kind of like a hold your breath moment. Do we lay off or don't we? And you went with your feeling that, no, we don't lay off. And now we have new teachers back. So that's the good news. However, that band teacher position, that was my student that applied for the job. She's from dual school. She went through our system. She lives here in Calexico, and she didn't get an interview. She never got an interview. So, and now she's teaching my granddaughter in Imperial. So I'm torn between what's right and what's wrong. But I would have liked to seen her be the band teacher and given a chance and been interviewed. And it's not Miss HR's fault. She was in transition when all that was happening. So I don't know what happened, what went wrong. But that lady is now her first year in Imperial. And, with some encouragement, maybe she would apply and come at the semester if she could get out of her contract. I don't like it when we lose our good students that come out of Calexico, because then they're dedicated and they're here for the right reasons, because they like the town, they like the kids. So, not that you out-of-towners aren't, but Mr. Slater. All right, thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Please come to the podium, Ms. Garcia.
Hi, my name is Marisela Garcia. I'm a teacher and a resident. You know what? I just have a concern. I'm listening to the P issue, and I'm thinking, why hasn't the principal spoken to you about this if you're saying that this is something new that's brought to you? And it's something that's required by the educational system institute. So what's happening? Is there a lack of communication? The equipment. So if there is lack of communication, what's going on? Maybe we need to survey our teachers and see, you know what is it? What's the need that you see, that you feel, or maybe that you feel that there's a need for, and maybe we can communicate in that manner, because to see such need in junior high, and that's a class, and you have the entire school population attending those classes and going through those classes, and there is a need for equipment, and apparently it seems like no one has taken action in those issues. Maybe we need to do a survey for the teachers and see what is that they feel they need in their school so that they can work with their students. That's just my comment.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
And did make a presentation about 7th and 8th grade sports. I remember that. She did. Then it was way before the summer. Yes, it was about 50 grand. It will cost the district about 50 grand. I don't remember if it was per site or per site. It will for a full program for 7th and 8th grade sports.
What I'm referring to is that it was never brought before as an action item. I
Oh, no, it
believe
wasn't an
you
action
asked
item.
for information
Yes.
and was presented to you as an informational item, and then the board hasn't.
Okay, so we did
Address-
talk about,
Yes.
we did
We had a report.
a report on it, so, all right.
Okay, before moving on to consent agenda, I'd like to take a 5-minute break. I need to take a break. We'll return in about 5 minutes. Thank you.